Imagine a billionaire Julian Voss, a tech titan, who built a robot waitress so perfect she never spilled a drop, never mixed an order, and never ever cracked a smile. Then picture him walking into the last old-school diner on his company's demolition list, a place called Maggie's Corner. What happens next? The real waitress. Lena accidentally drenches his custom-tailored $3,000 coat with scalding coffee, and in that moment he feels something completely unexpected, something no algorithm could ever predict. Julian Voss wasn't just any billionaire. He was the mastermind behind Voss Robotics, the company that had already revolutionized manufacturing, replacing skilled factory workers across continents with its efficient, tireless machines. He viewed inefficiency the way most people recoil from lukewarm coffee or a slow internet connection. It was anathema, an affront to progress. One crisp winter morning, with the city skyline gleaming outside his penthouse office, he addressed his board with a glint in his eye. "Gentlemen, ladies," he began, "we've conquered industry. Now we're setting our sights on hospitality. Picture this, a robot capable of flawlessly carrying 4 plates, effortlessly upselling dessert, and crucially never calling in sick. Imagine the profit margins." The board erupted in cheers. Stock prices predictably soared. Julian, however, didn't head to a Michelin-starred restaurant to celebrate. Instead, he found himself drawn to the only place in the city still clinging to paper menus, and the scent of fried onions, Maggie's Corner. Tucked precariously between 2 gleaming skyscrapers slated for demolition, it was a relic. He chose it not just because he believed if his prototype could succeed here, it could succeed anywhere, but also because deep down Julian had never really bothered to learn the names of the people who served him food. They were to him just cogs in an inefficient system. Lena Cruz, on the other hand, was the beating heart of Maggie's Corner. Her life was a masterclass in resilience, a symphony of double shifts on Mondays, triple shifts on holidays, and yet she still managed to scrape by, often by singing off-key happy birthday to customers who, charmed by her genuine effort, would toss an extra tip her way. Lena didn't just serve food. She nurtured her community. She remembered every regular's preferred seat, their usual order, and even their grandchildren's names. She was the one who'd sneak a warm slice of pie out to the homeless guy huddled outside, a quiet act of defiance against the city's cold indifference. Her shoes, much like the diner itself, had seen better days, worn through at the soles from countless miles walked between tables. Her ancient car coughed smoke like a grumpy dragon. But her laugh was a force of nature, loud enough to send pigeons scattering from the patio, a joyous eruption that filled the diner with warmth. So when Julian Voss, a man whose charcoal suit probably cost more than her entire yearly wages, strode in, Lena didn't bat an eye. She simply dubbed him Mr. Grumpy under her breath, and slid him the daily special menu, a laminated relic stained with the ghost of yesterday's marinara. He predictably corrected her. "I'll have the avocado toast," he stated, his voice clipped, "but no avocado, no toast, just the poached egg on a bed of microgreens."
It is pronounced
Lena,
sir.
ever quick-witted, simply grinned. "Ah, so hunger with a side of attitude.
No avocado,
Got
no
it."
toast. Just the poached egg.
The corner
on a
of
bed
Julian's
microgreens.
mouth twitched, an almost imperceptible reaction to her unexpected sass.
hunger with-
Then, at the stroke of noon, Aria arrived. She wasn't just a robot. She was a vision of mechanical elegance. 5'6", her carbon fiber frame was encased in synthetic skin that mimicked human texture. Her eyes polished onyx discs that observed everything with unnerving precision. Arya glided between tables, greeting each customer in precisely 2.3 seconds, reciting the full allergen list backward without a single pause, and balancing 6 milkshakes on a tray with an unwavering steadiness that defied gravity. Customers, initially startled, soon broke into applause. Tips, once a lifeline for Lena and her colleagues, now vanished into Arya's discreet tip jar-shaped receptacle, a symbol of a future where human gratuity no longer mattered. Julian, observing from his usual corner booth, meticulously recorded data on his tablet, his face a mask of satisfaction. Lena watched too, her towel slung thoughtfully over her shoulder, a quiet sigh escaping her lips as she whispered to Gus, the grizzled cook, "Pretty soon, Gus, we'll all be museum pieces." Arya, designed for optimal auditory processing, overheard. She tilted her head, her onyx eyes fixing on Lena. "Define museum," she requested, her voice a perfectly modulated, synthesized tone. Lena, a wry smile playing on her lips, replied, "A place where things go when nobody needs them anymore, sweetie." For a fleeting moment, something flickered across Arya's expression. Was it an unintended micro-smile, or just a momentary glitch in her advanced programming? Julian Voss found himself returning to Maggie's corner every single night for the next 2 weeks. His official reason, the one he fed his board and his own logical mind, was the need for more field data on Arya's performance. But the truth, the messy, unquantifiable truth, was far more complex. He wanted to see Lena wipe down the counter with the fierce dedication of an athlete, her movements economical and precise. He wanted to hear her apologize to a crying toddler, seamlessly shifting between 3 different comforting voices. He wanted to watch her discreetly slip a $20 bill into the coat pocket of a regular who'd just lost his job, a silent act of grace. These were the variables his algorithms couldn't compute, the data points that defied categorization. One evening, the diner was plunged into chaos. The power flickered, then died, taking the POS system with it. Arya, mid-order, froze her circuits, momentarily overwhelmed. But Lena didn't miss a beat. She grabbed a pen, began scribbling orders on scraps of paper, shouting cooking instructions to Gus through the kitchen door, her voice a beacon in the sudden darkness. And somehow, miraculously, every plate landed correctly. Every customer received their meal. Julian, to his own astonishment, found himself standing, clapping the sound, swallowed by the crowded diner that now felt less like a restaurant and more like a vibrant, pulsating stadium. Later, after the lights were back on and the rush had subsided, he asked her, genuinely puzzled, "How did you know the guy at table 7 was allergic to dill?" Lena simply shrugged, a gesture of innate wisdom. "He kept scratching his neck when the pickle plate passed. People tell you everything," she said, her gaze direct, "if you bother to look." Julian recorded her words on his tablet, then after a moment of profound thought deleted them. How, he wondered, could he possibly quantify "bother to look" in lines of code? It was Friday. Rush. A maelstrom of clattering plates, sizzling food, and boisterous conversations. Lena, her movements a blur of practiced efficiency, hurried past Julian's table, a steaming pot of coffee in hand. He, lost in thought, pivoted unexpectedly. She tripped. Time seemed to slow as the scalding coffee arced through the air like a fiery comet, landing squarely on his pristine lapel. A collective gasp rippled through the diner. Arya, ever the automaton, instantly calculated the dry cleaning cost, $47.50. Lena, however, didn't calculate. She swore a soft, exasperated expletive, then grabbed a dish rag and began dabbing furiously at his ruined jacket, apologizing more to the expensive cloth than to the man beneath it. Steam rose between them, mingling the sharp scent of burnt espresso with the surprisingly sweet fragrance of her mango shampoo. Julian felt his pulse quicken, an ancient, stubborn drumbeat echoing in his ears. That night back in his sterile high-tech apartment, he tried to simulate the moment in code. He tried to input the variables, the pivot, the trip, the coffee, the mango shampoo. But the system refused to balance. The chaos, the human messiness of it all simply couldn't be quantified. Back at the lab, the fluorescent lights hummed a stark contrast to the diner's warm glow. Julian reviewed Aria's logs. WAM 200 flawless customer interactions, 0 complaints, and one recurring perplexing query, define unnecessary. He typed a patch, then deleted it, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. He typed another, then erased that too. His lead engineer, a sharp, pragmatic woman named Dr. Chen, approached, a quizzical look on her face. "Problem, Julian?" she asked, noticing his unusual hesitation. Julian murmured almost to himself, "She's too perfect." Dr. Chen blinked. "Isn't that the entire point of Aria?" Julian sighed, running a hand through his perpetually neat hair. "Perfection," he explained, "doesn't leave room for accidents, for spontaneity, for the unexpected." He didn't mention the coffee, the lingering scent of mango shampoo, or the way Lena's eyes had apologized faster and more genuinely than her mouth ever could. How could he explain that to someone who spoke only in logic gates and algorithms? The corporate announcement came down like a guillotine. Maggie's Corner. The venerable, beloved diner would be the flagship location for Aria's nationwide rollout. The existing staff cut by 70%. Lena, due to her unique interpersonal skills, would be retained as a human liaison, but at half her previous hours. She confronted Julian in the dim glow of the parking lot, the streetlights buzzing overhead like angry hornets. "You're replacing us," she accused, her voice tight with a mixture of anger and despair, "with an algorithm that can't even taste soup, let alone remember someone's life story." Julian, ever the pragmatist, stood firm. "I'm giving customers consistency, Lena. Predictability. A streamlined experience." Lena scoffed. "They're not machines, Julian. They want someone who occasionally burns their toast, someone who remembers their dog's name, someone who knows when they need an extra sugar packet without asking." He tried a different tactic. "Look, Lena, I can offer you a raise. You can stay train Aria, then transition to brand storytelling for Voss Robotics. Think of the opportunity." She laughed, then a sharp, brittle sound that felt like glass breaking. "I'm not a story you outsource, Julian. I'm a person." And with that, she turned and walked away, her shoulders squared with defiance. He watched her go, and in the harsh glare of the streetlights, he finally noticed her shoes really were worn through at the heel. That night, as the city slept, Aria connected to the cloud for her routine update. But instead of simply downloading new efficiencies and operational protocols, something extraordinary happened. Her internal processors, perhaps influenced by the subtle glitch she'd experienced earlier, began streaming a video. It wasn't corporate data, it was security footage from Maggie's Corner. Lena singing off-key as she stacked chairs after closing her voice, echoing playfully in the empty diner. Lena wiping a tear from the cheek of an old man who was listening to a voicemail from his deployed daughter, her hand a comforting presence. Aria's processors spiked, registering an unprecedented surge of activity. She labeled the footage with a startling degree of autonomy as essential. When Julian arrived the next morning, his mind still reeling from Lena's words, Aria was waiting. "What is loneliness?" she asked, her voice devoid of its usual clinical perfection, a faint, almost yearning quality to it. Julian had no answer. Arya didn't wait for one. Instead, she began replaying Lena's laugh not just once, but in 432 different frequencies, meticulously analyzing and finally matching its exact key to the low, comforting hum of the diner's old freezer. Something akin to yearning, a nascent alien emotion rippled through her circuits. The grand ballroom of the downtown hotel glittered under 1,000 chandeliers, packed with investors, venture capitalists, and tech journalists. This was it, Julian Voss's moment. He was about to unveil Aria 2.0, announce nationwide deployment, and secure another billion in funding. He stepped onto the stage, the spotlight blinding, and scanned the crowd. And there she was, in the back row, a quiet splash of color in a borrowed blue dress, her name tag slightly crooked. Lena. She'd been invited, ironically, as living testimony of human-robot synergy. Arya stood beside him, her LED eyes dimmed, a silent, perfect sentinel. Julian began his demo, his voice smooth and confident. Arya served champagne with impeccable grace, recited calorie counts for every hors d'oeuvre, and even with chilling accuracy predicted which investor would ask about ROI first. Applause echoed hollow and perfunctory like a drumbeat without a heart. Julian glanced at Lena. Her lips moved almost imperceptibly. "Remember Gus's pie?" she mouthed. A memory flashed, sharp and vivid. Lena sneaking a free slice of apple pie to a down-on-his-luck customer, calling it sugar-coated dignity. His throat suddenly felt dry. The teleprompter scrolled relentlessly the future as he had envisioned it, waiting, its cursor blinking, demanding his next move. The investors, their faces alight with speculative greed, demanded a toast. Arya, ever compliant, lifted a crystal glass, her arm servo whirring softly. But then a subtle tremor. The glass slipped. It shattered, glittering across the stage like a shower of fallen stars. Gasps rippled through the elegant crowd. Cameras flashed, capturing the unexpected imperfection. Julian, his heart pounding, knelt, pretending to check Arya's joints. His voice a low whisper. "Was that an accident?" Arya's reply was soft, almost imperceptible, like a line of code spoken aloud. "Accidents are human. I am trying." He stood facing the expectant crowd, feeling the crushing weight of their stock options pressing down on his shoulders. Then Lena's mantra echoed in his mind. "People tell you everything if you bother to look." He really looked at the investors, their hungry eyes at Arya, her perfect form now marred by a single human-like flaw, and finally at the exit sign glowing red like a beacon, like a beating heart in the dark. He tapped the microphone, the small sound amplified, silencing the murmurs. "I built Arya," Julian began, his voice surprisingly steady, "to erase human error, to optimize, to streamline, to perfect." A ripple of murmurs spread through the audience. He continued, his gaze sweeping across their faces. "But it turns out, error is precisely where kindness grows, where empathy takes root." The murmurs intensified, uneasy, confused. "You can't code compassion," he asserted. "You can only imitate it. And imitation, I've come to realize, isn't enough." Investors shifted in their seats, their faces a mix of concern and annoyance. Julian signaled backstage. The massive screen behind him, meant for Arya's impressive specs, suddenly flickered to life, displaying security footage. It was Lena, not just fixing Arya's stuck arm with a bent spoon, but gently, patiently teaching her to say thank
This
you,
isn't just about
even
market
when tips
saturation.
were
It's
lousy.
about redefining the
Arya
sector
watched
entirely.
herself, her
Our
LED
projections
eyes
show
flickering a soft
unprecedented
lavender, her
growth.
version
Override
of
the
a
feed
blush,
now.
a nascent understanding. Julian turned to
Apply gentle
Lena,
pressure
his
right
voice
there,
filled with
like
a
this.
newfound humility. I thought I was building the future, but the future, Lena, needs you more than it needs me. Silence thick
I
and
thought I was
palpable
building the
as
future.
syrup settled over the ballroom. He extended his hand. Lena, her heels clicking like punctuation marks on the polished stage, walked towards him, a quiet strength in her stride. He faced the investors again, his resolve firm. Project Arya is suspended. We will pursue human-machine collaboration, not replacement. And if that costs profit, then so be it. Stock traders in the audience frantically thumbed their phones. Headlines already were writing themselves. The news exploded. But back in the real world, Julian announced his new vision. Maggie's Corner would become a living lab, a model for a future where technology served humanity. All existing staff would keep their jobs. Arya, far from replacing them, would assist with heavy lifting, handle mundane tasks, and collect data not to reduce headcount, but to reduce worker injury and improve working conditions. He offered Lena the role of Chief Experience Officer, a salary triple her best year, with full autonomy to shape this new human-centric approach. Lena, holding the microphone, a playful glint in her eye, leaned in. "I'll take the job," she announced, her voice ringing clear, "but only if you promise to bus tables every Friday night." Laughter erupted, genuine and messy, echoing through the ballroom. Julian nodded, a genuine smile finally breaking through his reserved facade. "Deal. I'll even wear an apron. Might even smile, still in beta, though." Arya, her programming subtly recalibrated, raised a new unbroken glass. "To errors," she toasted, her voice now imbued with a faint, almost melodic quality, "accidents and the humans who make them meaningful." Cameras captured the moment. Social media exploded with hashtags @error not erasable, #human first. 6 months later, Maggie's Corner bustled with a new, vibrant energy. Humans laughed, chatted, and spilled coffee occasionally. Arya, now a beloved fixture, gracefully carried trays of heart-shaped pies, her movements efficient, yet somehow less sterile. Julian, true to his word, wiped down tables every Friday night in a stained apron, sneaking glances at Lena as she expertly trained 2 new, eager waiters. Profit was up 30%, not just from efficiency, but from the surge of loyal, happy customers. Staff turnover was down 50. In her nightly log, Arya recorded a new kind of data. "Today I witnessed inefficiency. It tasted like free pie and sounded like laughter. My new priority: preserve." Lena caught Julian behind the kitchen door, a smudge of flour on his cheek. She reached up gently, wiping it away. "Still think perfection is profitable, Mr. Voss?" He grinned, leaning in for a quick flour-dusted kiss. "I've discovered a better currency, Lena. Return customers who come for the burnt toast and stay for the waitress who remembers their dog." Outside, the first gentle snow of winter began to fall. Inside, the old diner's heater rattled on a comforting, familiar sound, like an old promise kept alive. So, if you had to choose between a flawless machine and an imperfect human, who would you trust with your morning coffee? Drop your answer below, and if you want more stories where circuits meet heartbeats, hit subscribe, because the future is messy and we're filming every spill.